Join me as I make the perfect roll for sandwiches, whole wheat onion rolls from freshly milled flour. Welcome to White Shadow Fare. Make it homemade and make it with love. Start by milling your wheat. I chose to mill hard white wheat. To your mixer, add 1 cup of warm water. This will help to activate the yeast. One teaspoon of honey that you're going to mix into the water to help it dissolve. Yeast will activate quicker and stronger if it has something sweet added to it. Now I started with rather hot water, so I wanted to take the temperature. You don't want to kill your yeast by using water that is too hot. You want it to be around 110 degrees or less. Two and a half teaspoons of instant yeast added, and give it a good mix and let it start to bloom. This should take about 5 to 10 minutes. As you watch the water here, you will slowly see that the yeast is coming to life and it will start to bubble and almost look foamy when it's completely bloomed. Once your yeast is hydrated, you're ready to move on with the rest of your mixture. You're going to start with 1 cup of milk or buttermilk. It's best when baking to use room temperature or slightly warmed ingredients. Add to the mixer 1/4 cup of honey. You could use sugar if you don't have any honey. My honey here is very crystallized, so it's kind of hard, but don't worry, it will melt into the batter beautifully. To this, you're going to add 1 egg and 4 tablespoons or 1/4 cup of softened butter. The addition of butter, eggs, and milk makes this an enriched dough. Whenever baking with whole wheat flour, I like to add a little bit of gluten flour. It's sometimes called vital wheat gluten, and that just helps soften the dough and give it a little bit of loft and add a little bit of extra protein. Vital wheat gluten is an optional ingredient. Now it's time to add 4 to 4.5 cups of freshly milled flour. You of course can use regular whole wheat flour. I ground hard white wheat for this recipe. Start by adding about 3 cups of flour at this time, give it a good mix, and then you are going to cover and let this sit for 20 minutes. Now this is sometimes referred to as autolyzing. All it means is that you are hydrating the whole wheat so that the bran becomes a little bit softer, and in the end, your roll or bread will be much softer when eating it. Now letting the dough sit for that 20 minutes is softening the bran and hydrating the flour. So it's an important step. Make sure you don't skip this one. And to this, you're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of salt. I've been using Redmond's real salt, but any type of salt will work here. Now that the dough had time to hydrate for that 20 minutes, it's time to add the remaining flour. So you have another 1 cup to 1.5 cups of flour. Add this slowly, about 2 tablespoons at a time. Let it mix in completely before adding any more flour. So 2 tablespoons, let it mix in. Another 2 tablespoons, let it mix in. You are looking for the dough to clear the sides of the bowl and then eventually form a dough ball. Here you can see that I am just adding a little bit of flour. I'm letting it mix in, and it is getting thicker. If you add too much flour, then you're going to be chasing the right amount of hydration. So it's easier to add just a little bit at each time so that you don't have to add any extra liquid in, because that could mess up your entire recipe. I like recipes that are measured in grams a lot better than the recipes that are in cups and tablespoons, but this is an old recipe that I had, and I don't have it all converted over yet. So I just have to do it the way that I've always done it, which is just adding that little bit of flour and then letting it mix in. You are going to knead your dough for about 10 minutes. So at about the 5-minute mark, I'm going to stop. I'm going to feel the dough and see if it is still very sticky. If it sticks all over my fingers, then I know that it is not hydrated enough. I'm going to need to add more flour. But once I can touch the dough and it feels sticky but actually isn't sticking to my fingers, then I know I have the right amount of flour added. Now that my dough is hydrated, it's got enough flour added to it, I'm going to go ahead and add 2 tablespoons of minced onion flakes, and this is just going to add to the onion flavor. We are also going to add a filling that we're going to make here shortly. I'm checking to see if there is a window pane. Now, window panes are very easy to see when you are doing regular white flour, because you can get, like that's shown here in the picture, very thin, and you can get light shining through. It's a little more difficult with whole wheat flour, but I'm going to grab it, I'm going to stretch it, and if it breaks apart too easily, then I know that it has not kneaded for long enough, and I will need to knead it a little bit longer. Now that my dough is nice and stretchy and I can pull it thin without it breaking apart, I am done kneading. I'm going to take the kneading paddles out, cover it up, and let it sit and rise for an hour. I like to let my dough rise right in my mixing bowl, but some people like to put it in a separate bowl that they have lightly oiled. Either way will work. It wouldn't be onion bread without some onion. So we've already used minced onion in the dough, but we are going to take a medium onion and dice it finely and add it with 1/4 of a cup of butter over a medium heat. And you're going to let that cook the onion down just so it gets soft. You are not looking for it to get caramelized or anything. You're just trying to soften the onions. If you like learning about freshly milled flour and different breads to make, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. It would really mean a lot to me. To your softened onions, add 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika. Now this is going to give your onions kind of a dark reddish color. To boost up that onion flavor even more, add 1 tablespoon the minced onion flakes. Let this continue to cook over that medium heat. Go ahead and cover it to help it cook quicker. The filling should be flavors that you absolutely love and want in your roll. So if there's something that I'm adding in the filling that you don't enjoy, go ahead and skip that. 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. Add a teaspoon of poppy seeds, a teaspoon of sesame seeds. Remove your onion mixture from the heat and let it cool down. Now that your dough has risen nicely and doubled in size, it is time to stretch it out into a large rectangle. This should be a very soft, easy to maneuver dough. Now, I'm not adding any extra flour. It is up to you whether you add extra flour or not, but be very light-handed about adding extra flour. You don't want to make these rolls tough. Put your filling on top of your dough rectangle and spread it out completely to the sides. This filling has that dark brown reddish color due to the smoked paprika, which gives it a delicious taste. And then on top of that, you are going to add 2 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese to add a little bit of a salty flavor to your filling. And then you are going to fold it in thirds. And from there, you are going to cut this into your rolls. We need a total of 16 rolls. So I cut it into fourths and then each of those into fourths. These rolls are really perfect for any type of sandwich. I enjoy just having a cheese sandwich with some pickles on it. My husband loves to have cheese or pastrami, shredded meat sandwiches with some barbecue sauce. The onion flavor is just delicious. I know that it is convenient to buy the rolls pre-made at the store, but making them from scratch is going to make a difference in taste. It's going to let your family know that you care about them, and it elevates the meal from being a simple sandwich to something so much more. I make these rolls and take them to people's homes when we do potlucks, and they are always a hit. These onion rolls are delicious by themselves. You could eat them alongside of a roast or some chicken, but they also make great sandwiches, as we've already talked about. And they toast up really well with a little bit of cream cheese, almost like a bagel would. The leftover rolls freeze very well to use at a future date. You're going to cover these and let them rise about 45 minutes, and then it will be time to pop them in the oven. Before placing these in the oven, I like to beat an egg and put an egg wash on top of my rolls. So I just slightly beat the egg and brush the top of all of my rolls with a little bit of egg. And then I put some of the poppy seed and sesame seeds on top just to make them look a little bit more fancy. Remembering that people eat with their eyes before they eat with their mouth, and so seeing a beautiful presentation makes all the difference. Place these in a preheated 350-degree Fahrenheit oven for 30 minutes. When they come out of the oven, they are going to be a golden brown. Because of the egg wash, they're going to be a little bit shiny. So delicious. Here you can see the layers of onion goodness, and we can see the onion filling hiding on the inside of there so that every bite is going to taste phenomenal. Who wouldn't want to enjoy a meal made on one of these rolls? I hope you'll give this one a try. Thank you for joining me at White Shadow Fare.